How you doing, everybody? It's Sunday, October 16th, and today is another build day on the club car. So we have a lot to do, so here we go. For those of you who are interested in what it's costing to build this cart, I put together a little summary. Here's a list of the contributors. Hang on a sec. There's my tally sheet. And so right here we have club cart expenses, donation by Cycle Cart Brotherhood, $1328.30. And that is this group of people right here. We thank you for your contribution, and it has helped us a lot. $1,328 is nothing to shake a stick at, so thank you very much. We surely appreciate all your help. And then Steve and I have ponied up $1,501.78 for a total of $2830.08. All right. So it isn't cheap to build a cycle cart, but it sure is fun. Okay, moving on.
Alright, so I spent the better part of the morning finessing this panel to fit, and so we got it all fit. We filed and cut and filed and cut, and off and on about 10 different times. It finally fits nice. We're flushing these panels up. If you wanted to save time and didn't want to do all that work, you could make them oversized and overlap all your panels. It's 40,000 stick, it's not that big a deal, but we wanted to have it all flushed out, so it's nice. So that's what we did here. Now I'm making the other side. And I already did make this panel, but it came up a little short. I'll show you that real quick. So this panel, when we put it on here, maneuver it around, came up a little bit short right down here. So, not a big deal, we're gonna make another panel. So I'm working on making a paper template right now. I'm probably halfway through it right now to get this just exactly right. Making it fit here and here, and all the way around this edge. So I gotta make this cut here and then this cut up here on the where this little brass hinge is at. So that's gonna be nice. So we're making progress.
Okay, so we've been working on installing the steering, and you can see here's the bracket from Renegade, and with this little articulated bearing, and then the shaft comes through with the lock collar. And then here's your pitman arm right here. This is nice because it allows you to adjust the angle of the steering shaft and up and down too. So now if we go to the other end here, you can see where this was the Renegade bracket where we extended it, we made it longer. And we welded it, and then we're using these flush screws right here so we can maybe put a piece of aluminum here to make that look clean with some gauge faces. And then it works beautifully, it's nice and stout. We might make our own custom steering wheel, but for now, this is good enough. We sat in it, there's plenty of room for your legs, and the height is good, so we're good. Alright, so I made a cardboard template to work out the shape of the foam and the lower section here. And Steve and I worked on this together, and we think it looks pretty good. So once we make our foam block, this will be the shape we're going to go to. There'll be a foam block here and one here, and they'll get fiberglass. Now this piece of plywood here will end up being just a thin frame around the perimeter. The inside here will get cut away. And that'll allow us to bolt it here. And then the cover itself will attach on the outside. So we'll get there eventually. All right.
Alright, so we're working on this differential, so you're going to have to disassemble this, and we put some tape on this because this is going to want to pop apart, right? So there's some springs in here, this whole thing's going to want to pop apart. In fact, we might want to put a little more tape on that. But you take your nuts off, and you take your other nuts off. Okay, so we got the bolts out, so the brake disc is going to go on this side. And this is a special brake disc designed for the Peerless. It's got a different bolt pattern than our standard ones. Get these 4 bolt holes that are close together. I'm going to put these back in here. And this is threaded on this other side. Okay, so we're all started. I got these from Staton, I think it is, Staton Incorporated, S-T-A-T-O-N. We'll put the link in the bottom when we get it. We're going to torque those by hand, not with a machine. So, and that's that side. So now we got the threads here. Now this is the adapter that Mark Parnell, Renegade, made for us. What this does, it spaces your sprocket, I think this is 2 1/4 or 2.5 inches to the left. So it centers your motor in the chassis, is the idea behind that. And you know what? We're going to need longer bolts. Yep, we're going to need longer bolts.
Oh, I'll be done.
Don't quite reach. Okay, so this is experimental. This is Mark's first one we're doing for this. So we need to make, these bolts need to be about another 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch long. So
I guess you're going to the hardware store, Danny.
hardware store, here we come.
All right. All right, we have the correct length bolts now. So what do you got going on there, Steve?
Put a couple of these in here. And take the other ones out. All right, so we got the longer bolts in here. Now we're ready to put this spacer on here. All right, now we can get some threads on there. So now I can run some nuts and bolts in there. So that'll be
I guess
good.
it'd be these right here.
You know what? Should we put a washer on those?
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, let's go get some 1/4 inch washers and put on there.
Okay.
All right, so we found out the standard size sockets don't fit in here. So we had to get a 1/4 inch drive with a thin wall socket to get in here to get these nuts down. So you're gonna have to have a deep well 1/4 inch drive, or maybe Mark can make that a little bit bigger for standard size. This is a 5/16 or 1/2 inch nut rather.
But we got it together, it looks like.
It is together. So next part is to put the sprocket on here.
Okay.
Rocking and rolling. Okay, now we're up to putting the sprocket on. And this is a 60-tooth 35 chain sprocket. So we got some nuts and some lock washers. And before I put all these on here, I might use a little bit of blue Loctite. I'll just show you real quick how this goes in here. And Mark's got this machined all the way through, so you can use some longer bolts if you wanted to. You'll have to source your own hardware because it did not come with it. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so we're getting the axle assembly installed in the cart, and Mark's made these very nice brackets and these little plates that go on them. This is to strengthen this bracket and then to mount your bearing through it. So we've got these little bolts. Let's slide that out of the way. Coming from the back side. There we go. A couple of washer and a nylock nut. And that's just to strengthen this whole thing for the bearing mount. So we're putting the carrier bearings in here. Now there are set screws on here, so you want to put those someplace you can access them. If you put them on the inside, you may never be able to get to them. So point them to an area where you can actually get your wrenches on them. So there's no particular way these goes on. They're completely self-adjusting. You've got these little carriage bolts that fit through these little flat spots on the flanges, on the flangettes. And then you put a washer on the backside and a nut. Alright, that's good. Alright, so now we just put these little plates, finishing plates on here. And then after we set the axle width in the chassis, we'll set the set screws.
We wanted to get the cycle cart sitting on its wheels, so we kind of pushed the envelope a little bit. We don't have all the nuts and bolts on here yet, and we still have to work on an inner sleeve here so we can get this bearing flush. But it was good enough so we can get it out in the driveway and see how it looks. We bolted down the engine, seeing that the rear axle is in now, so we can rig up a chain here next. All right, everybody, what do you think? We got it on its wheels. It's coming along pretty good. This is our 7th day.
Yeah.
And I'm real happy with the progress. What do you think?
Yeah, this chassis works really, really good for almost every cycle car design. It lends itself to this. Dennis and I use this chassis design on almost all of our cycle cars except for maybe the Studebaker. And
Right.
But
Same
many of them.
same underneath on the
Same
Studebaker.
basic underneath, yeah, underpinning. So Oh, that's right. The Studebaker does. It's hidden. You don't see
Right,
it.
you don't see any of it.
But on this car, this little racy car, Grand Prix style body works really, really well on this chassis.
Yep.
The independent rear suspension went together pretty well. We had a little bit of interference. We overcame that by flipping a bolt around. No big deal.
Right, right. We still have quite a bit to do. We
Yep.
got to do the chain. We got to hook up the throttle, the brakes.
The brake system. Yeah.
There's also the tie rods, and then body and paint work. But
Yeah.
and then the foam and fiberglass. So
The metal fabricating part, I think, is pretty well in hand.
yeah,
Now we're down to making the foam pieces for the fiberglass, the nose, and the tail.
yeah,
And we'll work out these little windscreen bits here. We'll figure out how to do that.
yeah. And we also got the steering put in today, so that was a big,
Yeah.
big thing. So,
So that's something to keep in mind when you're building a cycle car. Even if you buy a chassis from Mark and Renegade, you still have to build this thing,
that's right.
right? You still got to build something. It's not a kit. You have to actually build it. So Dennis and I have knocked this out in 7 days. Of course, that's probably faster than many people would do it because we've got a lot of tools here that a lot of people don't have.
Yep, and we've each built 4 cycle carts.
Yeah, at least, yeah. So we have an illness. But this is coming along really well.
Right. Well, I'm happy with it. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll catch you on the next build day.